Hello, Dr. James. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Dr. James, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, my man, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, Dr. James, you are on this platform right now because you did invest it in yourself. And oftentimes, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Dr. James, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was a very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Dr. James, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately, I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, Dr. James. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. And I was so, so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dr. James that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insights, your work, the impact your work is having. And now you are offering your solutions, Dr. James. This stuff so beautiful. And just before I did send you that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Dr. James is doing. And not only me now, because, I don't want to look selfish, and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Dr. James. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
I love it, man. I love that you say that. Thank you so much for your kind
Thank,
words,
thank
honestly.
you too. Thank you too. Thank you too. So let's get right into it. You see, Dr. James, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dr. James, I believe it takes the application of knowledge with information. And not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, Doctor, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Dr. James on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Doctor, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I
Mm.
am totally convinced, Doctor, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Dr. James, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dr. James got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Dr. James, over to you.
All right, I love it. I think we share a lot of life's philosophies. I think that we're here to learn, and life is all about learning. And what you said about judging a tree by its fruits, that's important to keep in mind. And there's definitely light and darkness at work in this world. And for me, I grew up in a wonderful household, wonderful parents. I graduated from college and I worked in technology for about 10 years. And I did different odd jobs and had a lot of different experience. And as I approached my late 20s, early 30s, I knew I wanted to do something else. And I had been studying and learning about how to grow and how to become a better person and do all, the kind of things that you're talking about. And towards my late 20s, I started to feel like I wanted to study to have a profession where I could help people a little more directly than I did when I was working in technology. Because when I was doing that, I was performing a service for people. But what I really liked about it was meeting people, getting to know them, and helping them with their problems, helping them solve problems. So I looked at going back to medical school. I looked at being a psychologist and some other options. And I got attracted to acupuncture school because it had helped me. I had had some health problems, and we all face challenges in our lives. Things come up and we have injuries or we get sick. And a lot of times that's life giving us work that we need to do so that we can grow and so that we can change and become the people that we need to be. We pray to be stronger people. God gives us things to make us stronger.
Right.
We have to struggle against it. So I was facing some challenges and praying to get stronger and wanting to learn. And I started seeing somebody and they helped me with acupuncture and with herbal medicine. And when I looked at the school and looked at the program and what I would learn how to do, I really got interested in it because it gives me a great platform to help people to become empowered and to be able to learn how to take better care of themselves. And I have a lot of tools to help them with problems that they have. And unlike, some professions, like if I had been a psychologist, I would talk to people and help them that way. As an acupuncturist, I can help them with the acupuncture and we talk and I do some coaching and help them with, ideas and recommend books and things like that. But, I had some health challenges that acupuncture helped me with is just stress related things. And I can talk more about that if you want me to, or we can move on to the next
Yeah.
question.
Awesome, my man. Awesome, my man. Yeah, I want us to talk about that. What are some of these health issues, and how did acupuncture, help you with them?
Sure. So when I was in my 20s, I really wanted to do something important and help a lot of people. And I worked a lot in a lot of different directions. And I was just working too much and too many different jobs. I had at one point probably 4 or 5 different jobs, and I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't taking care of myself. One of the lessons I needed to learn is if you want to help other people, you got to help yourself first. So I started just, I couldn't keep weight on. I was having nightmares all the time. I was getting dizzy. I had all this stuff happening to me that, I didn't exactly know what it was. And one day I was having breakfast with my family. I started feeling dizzy. I blacked out, fainted.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was scary. I think it was really scary for my family, for my mom and my sister who were there. And I came to, I went to the doctor. I had a whole bunch of tests done, and most of the labs and tests that the doctors ran were basically normal. And they said, well, you've been working too much. You need to chill out and not be so stressed. And I felt, man, there's something really wrong here. And I had been having these recurring dreams, and I had a dream that night about things coming up out of the basement, and trying to
Mm.
hold the door shut, and things were coming up out of the basement. And I said, there's something going on here. And somebody recommended, they said, you should go see my friend who does acupuncture. So I went to see this doctor, and he did some acupuncture for me and just a simple treatment. And man, I felt so much better. It just was like a weight lifting off of me. And he referred me to somebody else who said, yeah, you have this condition called what Chinese doctors called liver wind. And liver wind is like chronic stress. So they gave me some herbs and gave me some acupuncture. And after a few months, I started to feel better. And I said, you know what? There's something to this. Maybe I got to do pre-medicine classes. I'm going to go check out the acupuncture school. And First day of school, I met my wife, Linnea, there. You know,
Whoa,
she wasn't my wife right away, but I met her on the first day of school, and that was a good sign for me. And I started studying and trying classes and kind of got hooked on it. Yeah, now it's, I don't know, 14 years
amazing.
later or something like that.
Amazing, amazing. I've heard about acupuncture, but I really do not have much insight as to what it means. So I want us to take the next question from there. So, what is acupuncture in simple terms?
Acupuncture is a form of body work. So
Body work.
it's related to massage or chiropractic or physical therapy, any kind of, you're primarily working with the body. Now we also are doing energy work when we do acupuncture, but I believe that anytime a healer is working with you, there's some energy work going on, whether it's a acupuncturist or a massage therapist or a psychologist, a shrink, a doctor. There's an exchange of energy, and they're doing, there's energy work happening, whether they know it or not. If you do it intentionally, then it's more powerful. But basically, acupuncture works with special, you could call them pressure points or acupuncture points or nerve points on the body that were mapped out by, doctors thousands of years ago. And then over many years, people find them. And the basic thing is that they're like spots on your body where it feels tender when you push on them. Now, why do they get tender? They get tender because they're related to something that's going on with you. So
Mm,
most people have seen, the pictures of the man with all the lines all over him and the dots, like the acupuncture chart. So those points are places where people often have these tender spots develop. So, say maybe you get headaches, then there are a set of points on the body that commonly become tender. And
wow.
those tender points can tell you about why you're having the headaches. So
Mm,
if somebody comes to me and they're having headaches, I check and I look for tender points and I say, okay, well, you're having headaches and these points are tender. So that tells me that maybe you're having headaches because you're not eating the right foods. And, we can press on those points with our thumbs. We can use acupuncture needles. There are different ways to treat them. There are a bunch of different ways, and that will help relieve the headaches. And then in order to stop them from coming and bothering you, we need to take away the cause of the headaches, which maybe it's because of some food that you're eating that's not agreeing with your body. Or maybe for somebody else, it's because of stress. Or for somebody else, they could be having headaches because they have a bad relationship with someone in their life and they need to fix that relationship. So,
huh, amazing. I
yes.
never knew that.
Oh, it's an amazing
I
system. It's an
tell you, I
amazing
tell you.
system.
I came across a particular video where I think it was the Chinese, and they were trying to attend to someone who was sick, and they were placing all of these needles around his body, and I was wondering, what is going on? Now I get it, tender points. Wow, I
Yeah.
never knew that.
Yeah. So I think every culture has this kind of medicine where somebody's body gets sore and you touch them and help them in some way. And sometimes it's massage, sometimes it's, you know, using a tool, some sort of tool. And in China, they developed this way of doing acupuncture with needles.
Yeah. Oh wow. So I believe this might not be for everyone. So we should try acupuncture.
Who should try it?
Yeah, yeah. Like, who's it best
That's a
for?
good question. I mean, pretty much anybody could try it. It's
Wow.
a lot of people think needles and they think of like getting immunizations, getting shots, and that it's gonna
People
hurt.
like me.
Yeah, it sounds scary, because most people have had shots and it hurts. And at least the way I do it and the way most people do it in the United States, we use very, very thin needles. Most of my patients don't even feel them. Very
Oh
commonly I have
wow.
somebody come in and we're chatting. I start putting needles in. I'm halfway through the treatment and they say, okay, when are we going to get started? And I say, well, I already put 6 needles in. And they say, I didn't even feel them. But there are different ways of doing it. Some people use bigger, thicker needles and they think that it's very important to create a strong sensation with the needles to get a good result. And I think for some patients it is. So I would say probably, if you're not scared of needles, then you got nothing to worry about. But if you are and you decide you want to try it, talk to the person and ask them questions and see what their
Mm,
style's like and let them know that you're nervous. And yeah, the kind of people who
certainly.
get, yeah, the people
Mm,
who want to do acupuncture, they want to help people.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so I was thinking, do you have any success stories? Maybe like anyone who, like your client, whom you've helped with some conditions. Can you share some success story with us?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So many. There are, gosh, I've had my own clinic and I've been practicing for, gosh, 10 years. Yeah. So let's see. One time we had a patient who was having all the symptoms of appendicitis. Appendicitis is pretty scary, right? She had
Wow.
the terrible, terrible pain in her abdomen. And she went to the hospital, went to see the doctors, and they did all their tests. And they said, well, we can't figure it out. Your appendix seems fine. She said at one point she was in a room and there were 10 different doctors coming in and out, poking her and prodding her. And so they said, well, you don't have appendicitis, so we're going to discharge you. And if the pain doesn't come away, come back. And this poor young woman was just doubled over because she was in so much pain. So she came in to see us at the clinic. And this was when I was in school. But my supervisor, brought her in and we talked to her and he had her lay down on the table and she couldn't even lay down flat because the pain was so bad. And he started checking some acupuncture points on her leg. And there are some points down just below the knee that are related to the appendix and the gallbladder. And sure enough, those points were very tender. So he just used his thumb at first and it helped her. She started to relax a little bit. And then he put one needle in and he put another needle in. He waited for a couple of minutes and she just immediately started to visibly relax. He did some more needles. Within, 20 minutes later, we came back and her pain was all gone. And she came back a week later and, it didn't come back and no more problems.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But you see, James, I'm kind of curious. How do you detect these tender points? How do you detect it? Sorry to cut you short, but
Well, so when you're in school, in acupuncture school, they teach you where to look for these points. So you learn these maps all on the body and they say, you know, near the knee, there's these points and they relate to these things. Near the elbow, there's these points and they relate to these things. And you find them just by knowing where to look and then just using your fingers and touching somebody and asking them questions. And after a little while, your fingers become very sensitive.
mm,
Now I usually know if the point is tender without having to ask the person. I know right where to look. So I treat headaches a lot. A lot of people come in for headaches, and it's very common for somebody to come in with a migraine or a terrible headache, and it'll be gone by the end of the session. So I treat a lot of digestive problems. I had a young man in the last year he has ulcerative colitis. So ulcerative colitis is this terrible condition where inside your colon, in your large intestine, in your body, you develop these sores that bleed.
mm,
And it comes with diarrhea and a lot of pain. And it's very difficult to treat. There aren't a lot of good medicines for it, from the doctor. So he had this condition. I think he was in his early 20s and he had this condition for 5 or 6 years since he was maybe 15. And it was just gradually getting worse. And so I did acupuncture for him every week and I gave him some Chinese herbs, like in a powder that he made into a tea and he would drink it every day. And within a couple of weeks, the bleeding stopped and, you know, the
amazing.
diarrhea stopped and he stopped having so much pain. And over the course of the year, he had a few bouts where it would flare up and he would have problems and then it would get better. And, we talked a lot about just his mindset and believing that his body can heal itself and, continuing to look for solutions and eating the right food and all those kinds of things too. So the way that I try to approach it is, I give medicine and treatments to help and also work with the person to find the information that they need and make the changes in their life that they need so that they can heal. Because usually it takes both things. especially with chronic conditions. It's like something like that that's been going on for a long time. There's usually some emotional work that needs to be done or thinking, thought patterns or some situation in the person's life that needs to change. Let's see. Oh, we had a lady who came to us a couple years back who had a torn meniscus. So there's like a
What's that?
the knee joint is like
Yeah.
there's a flap of cartilage and it's like a
Mm.
little pad that's between the two bones and that flap was torn. So
Wow.
she liked to ride bicycles and she was riding her bicycle all the time and it would give her pain and sometimes her knee would lock, it would be bent and she couldn't unbend it. So she went to her doctor and the doctor said, well, we're going to have to do surgery. So the usual treatment in the United States for this is that they make these little cuts in your knee and they go into the knee and they trim the flap. They cut the torn part out. And that stops it from locking up. But in the long run, it can cause more scarring and arthritis and things like that as somebody gets older. So she was hoping to avoid that. So she came in and told us, is there anything you can do so I don't have to get the surgery? The doctor told me there's nothing I can do. And we said, well, let's try. So we did acupuncture. We did some local healing work on her knee, like energy work. And we used topical herbal medicines. And then we used a device that uses red light. So you have this special red light at a certain frequency. And this has become very popular now. Lots of people are doing it. But it shines this red light into the knee and it helps. Everything was designed to stimulate the knee to heal. So after
Wow.
about 6 weeks, I think, she stopped having pain and it stopped locking up. And maybe
Amazing.
after 2 months or so, she went back for a follow-up with the doctor and she had another MRI to see
Mm.
what was going on because they were doing the pre-surgical stuff. And the doctor came back and said, what have you been doing? I don't believe it. It's 85% healed.
Wow. Amazing, my
Yeah.
man. I tell you, is
And
that beautiful
that's pretty
stuff?
amazing because they
I
say like,
tell you.
meniscus isn't supposed to be able to
Oh,
heal. So that was a
boy.
good one. That was a good one.
That was a good one, I tell you. And it's amazing what you're doing. To God be all the glory. And I'm going to take that as a final thought, man. So, for folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or maybe they require a service, how can that be possible?
So you can find me. My clinic's website is opustotalhealth.com, OPUSTOTAL health, HEALTH.com. I have a personal website, jameslovinsky.com. I don't update it as much as I should, but there's a contact form on there. I'm also I'm on X, on Twitter, at James Lovinsky. You can reach me there. LinkedIn, the regular places. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope this was
Beautiful.
interesting for everybody.
Beautiful, James. So that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this fantastic stuff with us. It means a whole lot, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother.
Oh,